All right, buckle up for Rocacorba. 6.66 miles, the sign of the mark of the devil or whatever that is. 6.9%, which is, a different kind of joke entirely. As you can see, I'm not in this clip yet. That's the follow car catching, but this is for completion's sake. We're having this whole clip. This is bottom to top, with the data. Motorcycle crew, why not? I mean, if I had a motorcycle, I would do this. And the guy you're seeing behind me is my buddy Pau of Horizon Cycling, he didn't have a motorcycle, he had an e-bike. So he's racing me / encouraging me / getting some additional angles for the camera footage for the episode. So if you didn't watch the whole Girona episode, I highly encourage you to do that. This is just the Watt Dork complete effort. I like putting these up. People like watching these, so it's kind of fun to talk about and go through the whole climb. So this is like a 45-minute ride from Girona, Spain. This is the climb that the local kind of Girona pros would do their intervals on back in the day. So kind of everyone knew the fast times for Rocacorba. As you can see, I'm a little bit faster than an e-bike on this section where it's just fast. The e-bike kind of has a max speed. I think they have a max speed and a max watts, and the max watts I can't handle, but the max speed when it's governed, I'm a little bit ahead of on these flat sections, which is kind of a fun. Ultimately, I have no chance of dropping the e-bike. I did that video already with Emily going up a local climb, but on a flat road, if I can go 28 and it's governed at 20, now we're talking. But he'll ultimately catch me. But this is where, so Girona is kind of, I think folks know it's a hotbed of pro cycling for probably 20 years now. And Rocacorba is, I'm gonna say it's the toughest climb nearby. It's fun to train on because you can see it's just super narrow. You're not going to get a bunch of cars or traffic. It's easy to get to. It's kind of like a sneaky, not quite bike path, but feels like a bike pathway to get there. And then it's just a good place to do a workout. So like back in my day, like Hejidal had the record. It was pre-Strava, but everyone knew, well, I forget what his time was, but that was talked about. And then once Strava came around, guys started ripping it, and the leaderboard got pretty insane. And it was my understanding is it was Jay Vine took the KOM Rocacorba, which was what put him on the radar. He was like an e-racer, and that was what put him on the radar of World Tour teams. Just like, oh, this guy can ride outside too, which he has since proven pretty well. So I lived in Girona for 2 seasons, like not full years, but like spring, summer, fall kind of thing, and did this climb not 100 times, but probably more than 50, just between doing, I'd go out here and do like 3x30s, 3x20s, whatever, at least maybe not the whole climb. My understanding is the local pros, and this is like a power meter thing, is the young guys these days are doing more of their workouts on a mare. So that climb is a little bit less legendary at this point, but maybe more competitive on Strava. I'm still glad I did this one. This is the one if you're a Girona pro, if you could do one video. But a mare, more steady grade, definitely like no downhills. Rocacorba, like it's a good one to have a good time on, but it's also not easy to have a good power file on. Really, like any KOM or any climb that you're coasting, you can see like I had to back it off just to get through that turn. And it's still like that turn is always wet and a good place to skip a tire. Especially if you're going downhill. It's also if you're doing like a workout, if you're doing intervals going down that thing, it's a little bit tense, a little bit exhausting on the body. You can't have fun. You can't let off the brakes at any point because you're about to just slam into a hairpin or a wet corner or who knows what. So anyway, so the locals are doing a mare more now, where I think you just get a clean 5% steady effort. Also a real nice climb. The view I think Rocacorba wins from a view perspective. You can see when you check out the episode. So at the beginning, we're a third of the way in. I'm doing more power than I should, as I like to do. I always positive. Well, not always, but I always tell myself to negative split, and then I get optimistic. I'm an optimistic kind of guy, and I think I'm gonna just do 420 the whole way up, and then the last little bit I pay for it. I find places to recover or back it off. I get excited. I feel good. Yeah, this is too much. And then at some point you can see like, I look at my power meter like 500. Phil, knock it down. Let's do 400 or high threes. But 10% heart rate's good, cadence is good. For all these, by the way, put some music on I'll put music in my episodes, but when I do this one, like the full thing, that's like 10 songs I gotta find from whatever the free library is. None of those are actually really good anyway. So you don't want to listen to that. And then everybody has different music tastes. So I inevitably get this song sucks from somebody. So I just don't put tunes on these. Here it opens up real nice. This was shot in the spring. I don't know when people watch this. So it's nice and green. It's still cold. The long sleeve speed suit from Starlight was perfect. You might notice I'm on the rim brake bike, which is I'll do a separate video about. I'll finally weigh in on the rim brake disc brake debate, because I know everyone's begging for it. I do get the comment all the time. I don't know why people love debating stuff. Ride whatever you want for the main thing, but I ride the rim brake bike here. Easier to travel with, easier to take apart, put together. I only go uphill. I mean, I go downhill, but speed isn't really. I just ride the brakes really slow, especially going down this. I'm not trying to race here. If I was racing around corners, I ride disc brakes 99% of the time at home. Actually, this bike didn't come out of the bag between Mount Washington Hill Climb in August and this, I had to put a chainring on it for this trip. It was 5-6 months later, because it was all light dorked. I didn't do it. Velofix did it. Harley came by and made my. I put a note on the door when he's coming on the garage table, and it's just like make the hill climb bike a bike again, instead of just being a weird dork tool that weighed 12 pounds or something. So we put a cassette on it with all the cogs in the front thing. But it still has the like silica treated wax chain and all that. It's still plenty dorky. It just, I need a double chain ring for some stuff. So I'm doing too much power again, as you can see. Especially like this time of year, I've done some intensity, about that much. You don't really know where you're at. Here I'm like, okay, I just went too hard, now I'm going to back it down. So to be fair to me, I knew I was looking at the live segment. I knew there was a downhill coming up or a flat section, so I gassed it a little bit, knowing that I could let off some and still keep the speed up. So I got a little bit aero, a little bit downhill. This is why it's a horrible power file. I mean, not horrible, but not a place for a power test. Exactly, you're not going to see your best 20 minutes on Rocacorba if you do it right. Somewhere I'm being chased by an e-bike. He will return. Don't forget about Pow back there. This time of year, like the pros are, a lot of them live in Girona, but most of them, like the American guys, probably don't get there. Most folks will like off season somewhere at home and then head to Girona for the season. So this climb will get a little busier in like June, July. That's when the bike tourists are likely to come. Let's say like starting in May, Girona gets a lot busier. When I was there, I got lucky with the weather. Actually, it snowed the week after we left. So the grade on the climb, I think it averages 7%, but that's with all the downhill you just saw, which obviously brings down the average. So I'm going to pay for overcooking it. but you really don't want a steady power file on this. You kind of look at it. I like to break it into different segments. So it's like, here's a 5-minute segment before, I can recover a little bit, and then there's a 10-minute. So it's like, 8 minutes on, 2 minutes off, 8 minutes on. So that's kind of what we're training. My coach, Frank Overton of Fast Cat Coaching, we did a lot of like 4x10 minute at this kind of power, 3x15. I don't actually think I did any 30-minute efforts before. The group ride is 30 minutes. It's not a steady effort, but which neither is this. But you sort of break up the effort and reduce the. I don't know. It's kind of complicated, but it'll be like 15 minutes on, 7.5 minutes off, which is enough. You go up the hill, goes back down the hill. You go twice as fast, and you go back up. And maybe like on the third interval, I'll take a little bit more recovery if I'm feeling a little bit cooked from the first two. But generally like the 3x10, 3x15, that's how we get prepared for this. And it's just, if you get a training plan, if you look at that stuff, people always kind of ask how to get better. And you should get one training plan. Fast Cat sells them, but or hire a coach for a couple months. You'll learn a lot. You'll sort of see like, here's how it's structured. Here's how much rest you generally need. Here's like how much intensity and how much endurance. I kind of do like 1 or 2 endurance days a week. Like 2 is enough, at least for what I do, and probably then what you do. And the rest of it is just more targeted. Going hard works as well as we can sort of see. So now it's 11%. So like, the 6.9 is deceptive if it's just getting burned up with coasting. Coasting sucks. Every time you coast, it's like, well, I got to go back up. I know the altitude at the top. So what I'm looking at here is like, look at the live segment, how many minutes it projects I have left. So on the Wahoo, it'll tell you, here's the KOM time, here's how much time you have left at X pace. So I'll sort of look at it and be like, okay, the KOM is whatever, 27 minutes, 26 minutes. My PR is 29. Let's see if I can go 28. And I'll kind of pace to be a little bit faster than my best time, and I'll adjust it as I go. So, if conditions are slowing me down or optimism was speeding me up, I'll be like, okay, let's, it's going to be, I was shooting for 5th and now I'm shooting for 9th kind of deal. This one, I would have been happy to be in the top 10 on. I just know that this is an underrated segment. I would say this is the second hardest segment on the planet as far as just the most competitive leaderboards. The number of dudes in the top 10 on here, it's all world class. And I've got a dorkier setup than they probably have, but these guys are, they're stashing their saddlebags in the bushes, believe me. I bet you me, I end up being the fastest time on this in a couple of years. I bet some guys come back and knock me out off the leaderboard. Here he is. So our man is back on the e-bike, putting that thing to work. 12%. See, that's where his speed governor and my human watts get back in line. You can see the pavement's just bad. It's just such a rude climb. Like, you can see why World Tour pros are attracted to it. The pavement's bad. It's cold in some spots. It's hot and exposed in other spots. Like, there's certain parts that just never see the light of day. Respect. He's he's still pedaling pretty hard, but he's getting some extra shots that I use in my video and my old Instagram. Those reels. Getting those viral reels going, thanks to the selfie stick. And then the car behind me just has the little Seasucker camera mount on it, and that chills back there. So that way, that's the only way to get the full data on a lot of people ask how I get these data. I hate to admit, it's a Garmin software that does it. You drop the file in there. I think it's free software, but you drop the video file and then the data file, and then it's a real pain to sync it, but you need a continuous shot or you're going to be there all day. So I had the camera running the whole time, and then I sort of cut it up after, because you have to find like a place that I believe it's Vegan Cyclist actually has a good video explaining how he does it. That might have been where I did it the first time. And then I stack all the data in the center so I can cut it into a vertical reel if I want, or I can leave it in the wide format as you're seeing. Little how the fudge is packed as I try to kill a 26-minute chat here. Yes, this is still the Factor. This is the O2 VAM rim brake. So the VAM is like their lighter carbon frame. I think this was the second bike they gave me. So this bike is from 2018, which is it's crazy to me because I just did so many years where like January 1st, here's your 5 new bikes, and then by the end of the year you assume they're toast and you get rid of them, but I'm sure they're making them better now as part of it, and we're probably, the proteins are, I guess, famously wasteful, and you'd crash some to get that's probably go through actually like 7 or 8 bikes a year, but sort of 5 was the baseline, which is insane. You got a home ride bike, a race bike, and then a spare at the race, and then there'd be like a different service course, and then 2 TT bikes. So someone like they'd match all your bikes and measure them, and then fly them around. So I wouldn't even necessarily see all my bikes, never at the same time, but they'd set them all up. You can see the cow crossing up there. There's also, I forget what time of year, I didn't notice any on this trip. There's a lot of little it's boar shit on the ground. So that's another fun element of Rocacorba. You can see the 2 towers towards the left. That's the peaks. And it's funny because like, it looks really far away. You can see it when you're at this point. I'm looking like, God, I got to get over there. And I got how many minutes left before I'm losing time to everyone? But then suddenly, you get over there. It's probably like a mile away as the crow flies from here. There's somebody else riding it that day. There are a couple like houses, people who live, which is both awesome, and completely insane to live up there. I just don't want to spend that much time in my car. I like to walk the dogs and get a coffee. These people must know how to make their own coffee real good. So here the gradient's steep, and I backed off the power a little bit. I was like, that there's a little too much low 400s, so I'm gonna have to give up some time and trying to hold the speed a little bit. I'm not dying, but the cadence being in the 90s is a sign that I'm feeling it, and then of course the power being in the 350s isn't great for me. One of these days I'm gonna negative split one of these, but again I don't think, and the alternative is I start at 360 and finish at 400. It would be better if I did it that way. When I was racing, I knew my power abilities a lot better, and you do more intervals, you do more races, you're a little bit more prepared. And now it's more guesswork and go by feel and a lot of adjustments as we go. But we're kind of on to the last third of Rocacorba. And I know there's one more dip. Like I said, I did this climb 50 times back in the day. I'm looking at it on the live segment, but hell if you remember it, if you're not kind of looking at something. And the Wahoo, the live segment screen, if you haven't seen it, it's got like, it's color coded, which it was kind of an update I think a year or 2 ago, where so you can see it's a climb, it's all uphill, but then there'll be like the yellow part is kind of steep. I'm gonna say that's like 5 to 7%, and then like at 10% up it gets red, and there's like a really dark red at 14, and there's green. So the green part is like, okay, no, that's a flat bit coming up, or if there's a downhill, there's a dip. So I kind of like pace it on those colors. It's good for like, I'm in kindergarten at this power. My brain is that of a 5 or 6 year old. So I follow the colors. sleepers. You saw the moss down there. All great things to crash on. I wonder who has the downhill KOM for this. Whoever that person is for sure insane. A lot of guys have ripped this. Definitely a disc brake thing. This was the first place I brought. The first time I had a disc brake bike. This was where I brought it to, and it was fun. It's like, oh look, you can be a little bit dumber. You can just come into that turn a little bit more hot and scrub speed a little bit later. That's how pros see it. Disc brakes aren't any safer. It just lets you brake later. You're still going in the turn real fast. They're safer. It's just a different way. They're definitely safer for folks who don't know, who aren't expert, experienced descenders. You're safer to mess up. You'll survive it. So yeah, 174 beats a minute. 2 days before this was when I had the super fancy dinner. It wasn't the day after. I knew I was going to be like hungover and bloated, probably something like that the day after. But one more day, I was ready. Probably take a nice poo, nurse the hangover. I wasn't the first time I went. I was probably more drunk than this time. There's the wine pairing. They do. It's a lot of wine, and then they just keep bringing it out. So you've got to govern them a little bit, because they'll try and kill you. It was nice to be back in Girona. It was nice to be there for a week. I don't know if I could live there. The town, it feels super small. It's a special place to have been and to visit. But it's funny how like fashionable it got. I'm speaking as a YouTuber, but the very very perfect coffees made for influencers to take photos of. There's a lot of brand stores now, and brands, don't get me wrong, I love brands. You see my sponsor list, but they also pollute the purity of the Girona that was once like kind of just felt like a little secret, and then folks like us ruined it. And I also just really love telling people where to go and what rides to do. And then I have like a Google Doc of here's the rides in Girona that I like, here's the places to go for food, not including Ken Roca because you can't get in, but here's some Strava routes, and I've over the years I've sent that to like 100 people who've just asked, and it's like, oh, here's a copy paste just to make my life easier. And then when folks like do it and send me a photo of the lamb they got at the restaurant that I told them to order the lamb, it's awesome. This is one of those great places are meant to be ruined in a weird way. And Girona, there's a lot to love. I'm not saying it's ruined, but it's certainly different. So here we are. I backed off a little bit because I like to finish strong. I know the last bit is the worst. I don't know why. Climbs seem to do that. They save all the steep for the end. The last K on this is quite rude, and I knew that. And obviously you're loaded up going into it. So here's a bit where I can 4%, 3%, where I'm trying to get a little arrow, trying to lower my head, back off, and every watt I reduce here, I can smash later, and I can drop the e-bike. Always a little feather in your cap. Drop the e-bike. The tower straight ahead. That's the top. What a cool spot. Just look how secluded it is. Like, the heck are we? All right, once I hit the hill, you can hear a couple shifts. Now we're going up again. Now I'm like, all right, let's see if we can hold 400 plus to the line. Nope, we cannot. There we go. Standing up helps. It's not. I don't really know when to stand up, when not to. Like the steeper parts for sure. The speed changes for sure. There's little muscle groups. You kind of like get a rest on some muscles and and you use other ones. You use your butt a little bit less when you stand up. You sit down, you're kind of grinding at the hamstrings, and this is more quad. Use your weight, obviously, and use your upper body, your core. I think mostly I hit it when it's steeper, but I can't say there's an exact, like, here's when I stand, here's when I sit. But the cadence and speed changes for sure. But that's not what we were just doing. That was just I'm exhausted and I need to break on my butt. That was Nala sneezing in the background. Forgive her. Quiet on the set. There's potholes. I think the pavement's a lot worse than I remember it, or that's just a thing I don't remember. But I think it's been through some nasty conditions the last 5-6 years. I rode it a bunch of times in 2016 when I lived there, and then I went back. I visited in 18, I believe it was 18, and that was the only ride. Well, I did a couple of rides, but I rode with Nathan Haas and Ryan Mullen, and we went up Rocacorba. I set my PR. I didn't film that one. I was just having fun. And here I am going to be up on my PR on this one. I paced it smarter. I did pace it better this time than I did before. I was also excited. That was after the Cancellara trip. I drove there from Nice. So there's a lot going on then. So it's nice to be able to take the PRs from myself for what it's worth. I know I'm not as fast as I once was, but I'm a little bit more savvy. I know how to time my efforts. I do fewer and I do them better. So here I'm falling apart. I'm just trying to hang on and just get to the top without going too slow. So that's what 350 is for me. And once I see the finish, I'll be able to squeeze a little bit more out, but I don't want to go too early. I'm only gonna have one of those in me. See 175 beats a minute. It's about it's not my max, but it's my max if I'm doing an effort this long. There's a second tower. It feels really far away, doesn't it? I'm getting there. I'll do one of these videos for the Madone as well. I'm not gonna do it for Tenerife. It's an hour plus climb. You don't want to watch that, and I don't want to voice over that. I'll do more of these as we go, but not on that one. If the camera battery doesn't survive the whole climb, we're not doing voiceover. That's the rule I just made up. All right, now I know the finish is up, and I'm ready to I'm not sprinting. This is a Phil sprint doing 350. I said quiet on the set. That's Creature. That's the young one. Yep. She's stretching. Stretch it out, Creature. It's important to stretch. Right now you can see my back wanting to be stretched. All right, now the rude, it's always rude when you sprint past someone at the very finish because they have no idea what I'm doing here. I don't want to be discouraging. They were cool. I talked to them a little bit at the top. Yeah, I guess I probably paced it about right if all I've got in the last couple minutes is 4:30. As I remember this being pretty ugly. You can see it's ugly. You don't know where the segment ends either. Like, does it end at the fence? Does it end at the opening? There's a sign. I know the graffiti is where you start sprinting. That I remember. That's when it's just about done. All right, there we go. There is an actual line. That's how dorky this climb is. But I go to the fence just in case. Creature, I say quiet on the set. We're almost done. Almost done. And we're done. All right. So I'll put the power from Chapeau on there. That's the effort. So, inconsistent but appropriate with the gradient shifting. And that's where I ended up tied to 6th place with a fake name. I don't know who that is. That's a pro. That's a pro.